most mass shootings in America? White men. School shootings? White men. Intimate partner violence, typically known as domestic violence? White men. Police brutality and systemic violence? White men. Online harassment and extremism? White men. Domestic terrorism? White men. Serial killers? White men. The demographic making up the vast majority of CEOs, judges, senators, and police chiefs who refuse to hold white men responsible? White men.
White people can't gaslight me into thinking that black people are violent, when you have historically been the most violent across a whole nation. I'm not ever going to compare someone running in a corner store and robbing it because they live in a system inside of a neighborhood that you created so they fail, to you pulling out somebody's teeth and putting it in your mouth.
Do y'all ever just find yourself in the middle of a conversation with a white woman and suddenly you're like, oh, yes, I get it. This is why people hate us.
First of all, the school shooting today, awful, of course. But who knew right away before even seeing a picture of the shooter, knew it was a white man?
That collectively you have a very long history of rioting. Anytime you hear the whisper that the hair on a white person's head may have been harmed, even if that whisper was a total fabrication. You riot when your sports teams lose. You riot when your sports teams win. You even riot when a football coach loses their job because they were ignoring allegations of abuse. You pretty much riot anytime you perceive that you might be losing power.
But the times that I've genuinely been scared that violence was going to be inflicted upon me have been white men. Not to mention that a lot of domestic violence as well as many mass shootings are committed by white men. There are going to be people in any demographic that commit crimes, but the fact that the right focuses so intensely on the single crime that a person of color commits is so dishonest.
White people commit more crimes, more violent crimes in the United States than all other demographics put together.
Anytime I have looked up the county jail roster for my hometown, all white people, and primarily males. And it just goes to show that, like, the people in my hometown, those who are afraid of or cast blame upon or hatred for black and brown people, Asian people, anyone who doesn't look like them, right? And they think of where I live as like, oh, I would never go there. I would never go there if I didn't want to get unalived, like scary people and whatever, you know? And in reality, like, their neighbor is probably in jail for SAing their granddaughter.
Whites, in fact, commit more drug crimes than blacks, but the war on drugs has been waged in ways that have had foreseeable consequences of disproportionately targeting black drug offenders. It goes on to say, black people had long been arrested for drug offenses at higher rates than whites. Throughout the 1970s, for example, black people were approximately twice as likely as white people to be arrested for drug-related offenses. By 1988, however, with national anti-drug efforts in full force, black people were arrested on drug charges at 5 times the rates of white people. So what does this mean? At absolute best, and that's horrifying, this is an example of systemic racism. At absolute worst, this is an example of hidden systematic racism. And like I said at the beginning, facts don't fucking care about your racist feelings. Remember to mute the media.
No matter how you look at it, population is the factor behind this. There's a larger population of white people, and they have a way larger number of crimes being committed. 7 million versus 2.6 million in crime committed versus white and black. Now listen, at the end of the day, these numbers mean nothing to me. Crime is crime. Every race commits crime. But this was for you people who want to stick by these numbers so much and not really break it down and do your research, because numbers mean so much to you that I'm just wondering, now that I've broken it down to you by population, now that I've broken it down to you by numbers and percentages, and I've given you all the factors of how we could look at it, who's committing all the crime now?
Oya made a friendly reminder, if you're a white person and you continue to vote for politicians who refuse to deconstruct white supremacy and the patriarchy, then you are perpetuating white supremacy. And don't get it twisted. It doesn't matter how much you get down with people of color. It doesn't matter if you have kids with people of color. It doesn't matter if you consider yourself a progressive. If you continue to perpetuate this system that enables politicians who refuse to deconstruct white supremacy, then you are perpetuating racism.
Whites are the problem in America. You guys are the issue. You people.
White men account for nearly 2 times the arrests of any other race, for violent crimes specifically. And that's the whole point. The system doesn't just let them off. It builds the numbers to hide these violent crimes. And the media, they use words like manifesto, political violence, they focus on mental illness, or they try to humanize the person. They say he was well educated, he was a churchgoer, he was a family man, a pillar of his community. So it's not just what's missing from the data, it's the way everything else around it is designed to protect white men. And even with all of that working in their favor, they still top the charts for violent crimes and arrests.
Fucking parents that don't know that their fucking kids are racist need to fucking pay for that. Yeah, you need to reap the repercussions of your fucking kid because you're so fucking up your own ass.
When we talk about who's dangerous in America, we rarely talk about power. Who has the power in America? But the truth is, danger isn't just about crime. It's about who has the power to harm, to go against the law, and still move on with their lives without any consequence. And in America, that power is given to the white people. Many a times we have been told to fear the border. We have been told to fear the ghettos. But history has shown that the real danger to America always wore a suit, carried a flag, and said they are all American. They are all about the American life. From genocides of native peoples to mass shootings and domestic terrorism, one pattern has run through America's boldest moments. White violence, white violence, white violence. And it's not an opinion. It is literally history repeating itself, and it literally has facts and evidence to prove it. We have seen that there has been so many white on white crimes. We have seen that there has been so many white on black crimes. We have seen that even as they say that black people commit crimes, they say immigrants commit crimes, it is not as much as how white people commit crimes. And mind you, the crimes that they are committing and the statistics, oh my God, English, the statistics that come with shootings and what the FBI give us, after the investigations, they tell us that most of the people who are the most dangerous, who commit the most crimes, are white people. And this is even after most of the white people have not been held accountable for their crimes. This is after other white people have been pardoned. Other white people have gotten away with breaking the law and breaking and running away from, the law. This is even after their crimes have been covered up. They have been they have not really gone or received the wrath of the justice, and some of these cases have actually been swept under the rug. Even after all these things and all the effort that the system of America is doing to make sure that white people aren't seen as who they are literally leading in the crime statistics. They are literally at the lead, even after being hidden in so many other things. So you can imagine if all of these things were brought to light, if all these serial killers were brought to light, all this white on white violence, all these mass shootings, all these massacres that have been done by white people, either to their own white people or to black people, you can imagine how many white people will be in prison. They will literally fill all American prisons. Even if we go to politicians and what they have been doing, launching airstrikes to countries that don't have the power to fight back. These have all been led by, white presidents, white politicians supporting whatever these white presidents are doing. Before I give my full commentary, let's listen to other white people actually acknowledging this, actually talking about how they are actually the most dangerous people in America, and then we'll come back and talk about it. If you do agree or not agree with this particular video, kindly comment what do you think about it. Let's dive in, listen to what others have to say, and then we'll come back and talk about it. See you shortly.
They want you to be scared of Iranian sleeper cells, while white guys dress up like police officers, knock on lawmakers' doors, and shoot and kill them. The most dangerous group of people in the United States right now are white, MAGA, Christian nationalists.
We talk about how ironic it is that the right demonizes people of color when the only time I feared for my life has been around a white man. I get so many hate comments like these few here. Most of the time I just write it off as immature, angry men, but the times that I've genuinely been scared that violence was going to be inflicted upon me have been white men. Not to mention that a lot of domestic violence as well as many mass shootings are committed by white men. There are going to be people in any demographic that commit crimes, but the fact that the right focuses so intensely on the single crime that a person of color commits is so dishonest. Some of the craziest things that have happened to me since I started posting is that I've gotten my account banned because white supremacists mass reported me for being underage, which I'm clearly not. They found my phone number and leaked it, so I had to change my phone number. They tried to get me fired by contacting any school in Chicago to see if I worked there. There was even an online page to see who was calling which school. I've literally been called a race traitor and told that I will be lynched along with POC. So no, people of color aren't the problem here. It is white men, and that's why I make the content I do. They prove it to me more and more every single day why it's necessary.
Oh good, I'm so glad that you brought this important topic up, because something I've always been curious about is if there are more white people who are being killed by police. And to be sure, there are. As you can see, with Black Americans being 13% of the population, they're disproportionately affected, but that is a lot of white people who are being killed by police. Why are you okay with it? Where are the white-led protests? Where are the white-led organizations speaking out against police brutality? Why are there not more white Americans joining with the advocacy that Black Americans are already doing to speak out against police brutality towards innocent people? And don't try to sell me on the line that it's because white people experience oppression every day, it's just that they're more stoic about handling it. Because despite what a lot of you think, I didn't just arrive yesterday. I was born and raised here, and I've noticed that collectively you have a very long history of rioting. Anytime you hear the whisper that the hair on a white person's head may have been harmed, even if that whisper was a total fabrication. You riot when your sports teams lose. You riot when your sports teams win. You even riot when a football coach loses their job because they were ignoring allegations of abuse. You pretty much riot anytime you perceive that you might be losing power. So it's not because you're meek and that you don't protest anytime you perceive injustice. So what is it?
There's 10 million crimes committed in the United States, and out of those 10 million, 7 million were committed by white people. Now, I know I just did this video, but I'm doing this again, especially for you. And then there were 2.6 million committed by people of color, and the rest were by other races. Let me break it down even better for you. I've got 10 million cookies, Iron, and I gave you 7 million of those cookies, and I only gave Joe 2 million of those cookies. Who's got more cookies, Iron? It's really simple math. We don't gotta try to make it complicated. It's really simple. And guess what? The government that provides you those numbers, they do it just that simple too.
White people can't gaslight me into thinking that black people are violent. When you have historically been the most violent across a whole nation, I'm not ever going to compare someone running in a corner store and robbing it because they live in a system inside of a neighborhood that you created so they fail, to you pulling out somebody's teeth and putting it in your mouth. Boiling babies, raping and unaliving people. If we're going to talk about violence, it starts with you. It will always start with you. I don't care about a carjacking. I don't care about a pew-pew. It starts with you. If we compare and contrast apples to oranges, you win every time at the most violent, vicious criminals. Without any moral, without moral clause, morality, anything, savages, I would say. Because I would never put nobody on a boat, packed, stacked high, and make them work for me for free. While I grape their women, take off the sexual parts of their men, also grape their children and sell them. I would never. So when we talking about violence, talk about that. Talk about that.
The FBI stats we've been referencing, they only track arrests. They don't track prosecutions or convictions, not the time someone wasn't arrested at all, even though they should have been, and they certainly don't reflect wrongful arrests. They don't account for the traffic stops that turn into felony charges. They don't account for the warnings white men get or the vacations they're sent on after killing unarmed black and brown men while wearing a uniform. But if we actually charge white men the way we charge black and brown men, if we tracked all the violence they commit, especially the interpersonal, domestic, sexual, and politically motivated kind, white male violence would be off the charts, as you said. It would be innumerable at that point. And even with all that bias in their favor, white men account for nearly 2 times the arrests of any other race, for violent crimes specifically. And that's the whole point. The system doesn't just let them off. It builds the numbers to hide these these violent crimes. And the media, they use like words like manifesto, political violence, they focus on mental illness, or they try to humanize the person. They say he was well educated, he was a churchgoer, he was a family man, a pillar of his community. So it's not just what's missing from the data, it's the way everything else around it is designed to protect white men. And even with all of that working in their favor, they still top the charts for violent crimes and arrests. That should tell us everything that we need to know.
So one thing I think is interesting is I grew up in a small town, very rural, 3,500 people, one stoplight, primarily white, primarily conservative. There were a few Hispanic families, but no black people, no Asian descent, none of that. And I now live about 2 hours away in a metro area of more than 3 million people, obviously very diverse. And it's just interesting to me how strong racism can be. When you think about the idea that any time I have looked up the county jail roster for my hometown, all white people, and primarily males. And it just goes to show that like the people in my hometown, those who are afraid of or cast blame upon or hatred for black and brown people, Asian people, anyone who doesn't look like them, right? And they think of where I live as like, oh, I would never go there. I would never go there if I didn't want to get unalived, like scary people and whatever, you know? And in reality, like their neighbor is probably in jail for SAing their granddaughter. And you still support white people to the fullest extent. Like it's...
So 4 white kids in Semi Valley, just outside of a theater, attacked a black kid. They're all teenagers. Now, none of the white kids knew this black kid that they attacked. They were just looking for someone to attack. Of course, somebody of color. Now, the video catches them saying racial slurs as they beat the shit out of this kid. And... get this, it gets even crazier that one of the kids has a father who is in the police department in Semi Valley. Go figure, it's always the fucking kid of a policeman. So not only are these kids arrested for a hate crime, but also they are going after the parents. And this is the part that makes me so fucking happy. Because fucking parents that don't know that their fucking kids are racist need to fucking pay for that. Yeah, you need to reap the repercussions of your fucking kid because you're so fucking up your own ass that you can't even see your fucking kid is racist because you're probably racist too. So, yeah, I hope these fucking parents see some time in prison. I hope these parents get their fucking bank accounts wiped clean because of this fucking lawsuit that's coming after you. It's a fucking hate crime, and you're gonna pay.
Statistics don't lie, Dwight says. They say black people are the overwhelming majority in violent attacks? Really? I swear I just did a video about this yesterday! If you go to the FBI's website and pull up crime in the United States and break it down by demographics, you will get this table, which is how many people are convicted for a crime by race. And you'll notice down at the bottom it says violent crime, which is everything from moita to rape, robbery, aggravated assault, burglary, larceny, theft, motor vehicle theft, and arson. It's all of those. And guess who's at the top? Because those are numbers, and you can see which number is biggest, right? But if you scroll over to a much smaller, easier to comprehend number, which is the percentages, you'll notice down there it says 67% for white people and only 30% for black people. So you're right, statistics don't lie. You do. White people commit more crimes, more violent crimes in the United States than all other demographics put together.
If at this time and age you consider yourself a racist, or you are a white supremacist, or you are a person who hates people because of the color of their skin, because their skin color doesn't match your skin color, I have nothing good to say about you. I have nothing good to say to you, because with all the information that is now currently available at the tip of our hands, we literally have technology. We can research for anything you want to know. We can look at all the evidence you want to look at. We can literally go back in time, look at our history books, learn about our ancestors and even other people's stories, and come to our own conclusion on how we want to live our lives. But you still choose to conform to a society that has proven to you is not really a way of living. It's actually a silly way of living, because if you literally hate someone because of just how they look without actually getting to know them, that's crazy to me. That would mean that every other black person is entitled to hate white people because of their history, because of how white people have treated black people in America. White America has had the most power in judging and ruling over the social, economic, and the political side of America. It has had the most power in all these things. It has been able to control everything that is actually operating in America. Even the systems that are put in place up to now that are controlling America, those are white people who put all of those things in place. But now you see how unfortunate it is that a country is failing because of your backward way of thinking. Sorry to say, but I'm sorry, not sorry. Because if you're putting up a system to make sure that you're continuously as supremacist, you're continuously considered as the most powerful race, and every other race does not even get near to who you are, but your systems are actually failing you, it means that you as a people have failed. To see that you are the biggest threat to yourself. Like, your people are your biggest threat. White people are each other's biggest threat, because you are the people who are killing yourselves most. Black people aren't even doing that much damage to you guys. Immigrants or Latinas or Hispanics or other black folks, they're not posing a bigger danger to you guys as the way you are posing a danger to yourselves. So having the power to change all these things and still choosing to be the worst of the worst people in your own country instead of improving your country, you're literally listening to your ancestors who also failed, because white people are not a happy people. They constantly carry a burden of what their parents did and what their grandparents did and what the parents of their grandparents did. Because you cannot tell me that you can spill all that blood, you can treat people so inhumanely and walk the streets of America as a normal person. That cannot happen. That can never happen until you repent for what you have done and actually take action against what you have done. So white people are continuously carrying all these burdens, and then they are continuously full of this rage, and their egos are so fragile. So the moment anything just does not sit well with them, they will riot, and those riots are not going to be nice. They're not going to end well. They're going to light fires. They're going to burn down cars, burn down estates, burn down houses, burn down roads. They're going to block everything. Anything they want to block, they will block. And to see that people who have the power to change a community, they have the power to be different, to be better, and still choosing not to, and have white people actually call their other people out. This video is mainly white people talking about how other white people are choosing to live a life of crime, choosing to continuously defend themselves over racism, like racism isn't a big deal, choose to defend themselves over slavery, like slavery was this good thing that happened to America, talking about how slavery was actually good because most black people were taught a lot of things, and actually other slave owners were actually good and humane towards slave owners. You see, you cannot say such things and have any kind of peace within yourself. I can tell you that for a fact. And that's why we're having so much and so many evidences of white rage, because there is this lack of inner peace inside white people. And this constant battle within yourself and within your community, because other white people are actually coming to learn that how they have been living is not right. Especially a big example is the people who are in this video. They are actually learning that whatever they were taught and whatever they have been taught by either their families or in school is not actually factual. It's not something that they want to live by. It's not something that goes well with their spirit. So they're choosing to go and step aside or move away from what they have been taught, because you cannot live with, a burden that you're carrying because you're being taught the wrong history instead of choosing your own path. That is not a way of living. As a grown-up, you can choose your own way, you can choose your own path, and you can choose to say no and to say yes. You can choose to do research on Black history and white history. Learn if you're on the right side of history, or you're on the wrong side. Learn how you can help. And I'm so happy that there are white people who are actually not conforming to what they have been taught, not conforming to the white supremacist way of living, and actually choosing the humane way, actually understanding where Black people come from when they tell you that they need reparations, when they tell you that how you have been treating them has been very inhumane, and when they tell you that they need to be treated equally and to be treated just as you are treated. But anytime we have seen Black people fight for anything, there has always been this contradiction, and there's always been this power behind everything they've ever said. There's this thing that comes out of white people anytime that they feel that they are not going to remain as the supreme people, if I may say so. If they feel like there is a threat towards what the system has been put in place to do, make sure that white people are the bigger people, they are considered the most powerful people. If they feel that there is a threat to that, they go berserk, they just go crazy, and they want to do all sorts of things. They kill, they destroy, they do all kinds of massacres just to make sure that they show that they are supremer than everyone else. And that's not really a way of living. And such things are what are making America be where it is right now. Because you cannot tell me that Trump is actually ruling as a sane man. You cannot tell me that. You cannot. Because that man is literally hurting white people as he is hurting Black people, as he is hurting Hispanics, Latinas, Asians, and other people in America. This man is choosing, you see, this is also white on white rage. This is the same thing. He is also having this rage within himself where he's also reflecting back I don't know what he's actually reflecting back, but there's this rage inside him that he just wants to give it back and to make sure that people feel the pain, the kind of pain that he feels. I don't know which kind of pain he has because he's a billionaire, but there cannot not be a reason to why he's acting the way he's acting, where he's actually hurting his own white people. We have seen white presidents all around, in America, who have been put in place to make sure that white people remain having their own privilege. But we've never seen where a white president has been appointed and taken that white privilege and thrown it in the garbage and said, you know what, you're going to live like everyone else. But it is very important that Trump was put in place. It was voted in. It was not a good thing for America, but it was a learning curve, because white supremacists have learned that even people who look like you can go against you. Even people who look like you can hurt you too. Yeah. If you didn't believe in history, it is now happening in front of your eyes. It is now happening. You are living in it. And it's only for you to make a choice. Do you want to be on the wrong side of history, or do you want to be on the right side of history? I would want to wish that you want to remain on the right side. You want to be on the right side, sorry, not remain. You want to move from the wrong side and come to the right side. Okay, I hope so. Anyway, if you've learned something today, kindly do consider sharing, subscribing, and liking. Also comment what do you think about this particular topic. I would love to hear what you have to say. For those who want to support me in another way, I do have a buy me a coffee link down in my description below. I will truly appreciate. For those who have, thank you so much. And I hope to see you in the next video. Goodbye for now.